Okay, so welcome everyone to today's webinar on CiviPlus 101 grant application tracking, giving and receiving. So today we'll be talking about grants. If you go to the next slide, Jack. Um, Today you've got me, Alex, the marketing manager here for CiviPlus, and we've also got, if you want to introduce yourself, Jack.
Yeah, hey everyone. So I'm Jack. I'm the sales account manager. So I work with a lot of membership orgs, charities, not-for-profits around the world. I'm here to help Alex with sort of demoing the system and just talk to all you guys about grant giving and receiving today.
Yep. So very important, and we'll be going through this throughout the webinar. If you look at the agenda, we've got two different types of grant management that we're talking about today. Grant giving, as you can see, has a section itself. So this is when you are an organization that is giving out grants to others. And then we've got grant application tracking, which is when you yourselves are applying for funding from another organization. So we'll get into this again throughout the webinar, but we want to look at the kind of things that you can do to make it easier to manage. And of course, we're doing quite a lot of this in the context of CiviPlus to give some good visual aids for you. So I guess, yeah, before we get into the types of grant management, I'll just launch a quick poll to see where everyone is in terms of, well, we always like to ask what kind of system people are using, but also kind of what's your interaction with grants? Are you currently giving them out, looking to give them out? Do you apply for funding or looking to apply for funding for the very first time? Just so we kind of like can, you know, it's always interesting to see what people are most interested in and kind of like, you know, how we should spread the time a little sometimes. Okay, everyone is putting their votes in.
Yeah, it's interesting to see these go up. Civi, other spreadsheets, the CRM.
Yeah, I'll give you I don't know, about 20 seconds more or something to answer it because we obviously want to get on with the rest of the presentation. But no, we're getting some really interesting answers here, which I will share in a second. Yeah, I think more or less everyone has put their answer in. If you haven't, put it in quickly. Okay, I'll end the poll and share the results then. Most people, it looks like, are familiar with the Civi system, with CiviCRM or CiviPlus, but some of you are using another CRM or some of you are just still on spreadsheets right now. So kind of a nice variety of people in terms of like their experience. In terms of your grants thing, lots of you are giving about roughly the same amount of you are giving out grants and applying for grants, obviously might be mixed. And some of you are looking to either apply for them or give them out for the very first time. So hopefully the stuff we'll be sharing today will give you some good frameworks to kind of think of how to go about that. So yeah, that's interesting to see. But yeah, if we move on to the next slide, this is really basically, yeah, next slide, Jack. What I've already said in terms of the types of grant management we're going over today. We'll be going over both types, whether you are giving out the grant yourself, and lots of these systems you'll see have some similarities, but we'll be talking about the different processes and the ways that you'd set them up somewhat differently. If you are going to be managing inbound applications, people sending applications to you for grants, and the processes that you need to review them and then distribute the funds, you know, to them appropriately. But we'll also be talking about grant applications that you are going to be making yourself. If you're how can you track those applications for funding from other grant giving organizations? So some organizations here might well be doing both. So, you know, always interesting to talk about both sides of grants. But now I'll hand over to Jack, who's going to talk a bit about what CiviPlus is before we just kind of put some videos up demonstrating a lot about kind of like how it does various of these things.
Brilliant. Cheers, Alex. Well, obviously, judging by these results, there's a lot of people that are very familiar with Civi CRM and some that are familiar with CiviPlus as well. And there's some that are using spreadsheets and are not familiar with the platform. So I just wanted to give you a bit of an introduction into Civi and CiviPlus and what it can do as an overall system. And then we're going to focus on the key areas that Alex touched on a minute ago. So what is CiviPlus? So CiviPlus is a very user-friendly, cost-effective CRM that's built specifically for growing nonprofit organizations. So what we've done as an agency is developed CiviPlus from Civi CRM, which a lot of you will know is the #1 open source not-for-profit CRM out there. It's used worldwide by over 10,000 organizations. And the key goal of the platform is to automate things like fundraising, communication, grant giving, membership, and ultimately free up a lot of your time who are on this call today, especially those that are on spreadsheets potentially. Yeah, it's non-profit dedicated. It's very, very powerful. So a lot of the features come out of the box, very easy to use, super cost effective due to the open source nature of the platform. It's all in one as well. So there's no need for integrations into other systems, grant making systems, mailing systems, etc. And it's very, very scalable. So it's very good to help lay the digital foundations for the growing nonprofits that we work with. What can it do? So just wanted to give you a bit of a sort of overview on all the features. Obviously, we'll drill down into some of these in a moment. But Civi can manage all of your contacts, whether they're grant organizations or people applying for funding, stakeholders, volunteers, donors, whatever that may be. You can take payments online, so card payments and also recurring payments. We can track a lot of fundraising opportunities through the system. So legacies, major donors, grants, for example. You can manage memberships, whether they're free, they're paid, fixed, rolling, prorated. However people manage their memberships, it can all be handled in Civi and CiviPlus. We've got a built-in events module. You can run things like webinars or in-person events, conferences, CPD events. There's also a drag and drop email builder. So it's a really user-friendly drag and drop email tool. So you can get all the marketing out of the platform out to people that are applying for grants or receiving grants and so on, funders, donors, etc. Grant management, obviously, we wouldn't be here today talking to you all. You can track applicants, so we can set up a number of different application forms, and they have an area where they can manage all of their applications as well themselves, which is really nice, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. Reporting and analytics on absolutely everything that I've mentioned and more. Surveys and petitions that can be built by yourselves and sent out to all the people that you're engaging with. The system can generate really nice certificates, and it gives you a lot of flexibility with colors, logos, fonts, and stuff like that. Case management is also included out of the box. Task dashboards, more for internal purposes, so you know what you've got to do on a Monday morning when you log into your CRM. You can manage volunteers, both applications and allocation of resource for volunteers. And then finally, with CiviPlus specifically, we've got a really nice self-service portal, which I'm going to be showing you a lot of later on today. And I'll hand back over to Alex for the time being, and then I'll be back with some demo content in a minute.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, thanks, Jack. First, we'll be doing the giving out of grants. So, we're saying grants, but obviously, grants might be a bit bigger, but you could also give out awards. So, and different people call these things different names, but this is basically, we're going to go through that. And so the first thing that you need in your grant application process, if someone is applying to you, is you probably want some kind of grant application form. So obviously, within Civi, we can provide you an application form online. You don't need to do a Word document application or something like that. And Jack will show you what one of these might look like in a second. But within this, you can collect custom data. So it isn't just, the standard fields, name, address, and all that. If you have something very specific that you want people to put down, you can have that go straight through into your CRM, the back end from your form. So whatever specific thing you want people to fill in, you can have a simple form, which is just the very basic, or you could have a conditional form. So maybe if there's like a drop-down box and someone ticks a certain thing, then a certain other box appears if they tick, if they put, say, other, and you want a reason for, if you want someone to fill in the other, then you could use that. You can auto-validate certain data, so you can make it so that certain things have to be put in a certain way. If you want, say, a professional work email or something, or you just, there's got to be a certain format to the way that something's put in, you can do that. You can automatically send email confirmations out after it's been completed. So you filled in the form, and the person gets a response immediately, saying, oh, thank you, so-and-so, for filling in the form. So they've got that kind of immediate feedback. They know they've submitted it. It's not just, I hope I've submitted it, which is never a great feeling when something as important as this. Draft applications at the same time can also be saved. So if you make an application and, maybe you need to get some extra details, might need some extra supporting documentation, and the person's in the middle of it, they can save it and come back to it later. So there's a whole portal area that I think Jack will be showing off in a bit, where you can save things, which is very useful, especially, when you're dealing with applications which often involve financial stuff. And of course, along with this, you can also have a status update for the applicant. So once they've submitted, they can see that you're processing it, and you can define these stages yourself. You can say it's in review stage, maybe first review, second review, and you can play quite a lot with that. But really, it's making sure that you have that transparency of the process so that the person who's applying to you knows exactly where it is, and you can make it very clear to them, what stage of the process they're in with you. And I think now we've talked through that, Jack's probably going to show you it like with a little video to kind of give you a bit more of a flavor for what it looks like.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So what we've done here is we've got the first glance at the portal. So what we're going to do here is we're going to log in to CiviPlus, the grant area and the portal as a grant applicant. So Annie, the grant applicant, is going to log in. And where she'll be taken is the sort of homepage of the portal. So there's an announcements tab that you can't miss in the middle, promoting the application being open. There's a custom form that Alex touched on that's already populated. So Annie's obviously logged in before, and it's pulled in the organisation that she represents and her details. We've got this applications area with the draft application. So Annie can continue the application and pick up where she left off previously. So she can fill in all of this application form. And again, each organisation has different fields of information that they want to collect. So these can be set up accordingly. So Annie can continue to fill it in. She can add attachments. She can specify the total cost that she needs, the funds that she's applying for. She can agree to the terms and conditions. And then she can either save a draft or directly click submit. So what she'll be then taken through to is the thank you page. And in the back end, she could receive an automated email. So like Alex touched on, there's the My Applications tab. So this is a really nice way of giving applicants transparency of where their application is up to. So when she submitted her application, she can see that it's applied. And what I'm going to show you a bit later on is when we move this application along the process, the status is automatically updated for the applicant. So it saves you a lot of time as the application managers or the grant managers. And it also prevents the applicant from being confused or maybe feeling a bit left out from understanding where they're up to in the process. So I'll just come back out of here for now, and I'll touch on the portal and the application management itself in a moment. So let's come back out here. Brilliant.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. So we put the application in, fantastic. But now we've actually got to process it. The person has put, the person on the other side has put the application. We need to process it. So what we need for this is a really powerful back-end system to deal with it. And for this, we have a dashboard, which you can see there, where we can have our own customized stages and statuses. So, we can define our own pipeline. If we want to have our very unique grant application process, with certain reviews that we might set, we can define what that looks like. And we can also, in terms of that transparency to the grant applicant, we can also, combine, say, like 2 of those stages so it only looks like 1 to the applicant. So there's a lot of flexibility about how we can display this to the applicant and also how we control it on the back end. Within this, we can also have automatically created activities, when things move to certain stages or when just the whole thing is created in itself. We can assign various roles. And again, Jack will be going through this, but quite often with a grant application, you might need different people to consult on it internally. You might need different reviewers. So, maybe there's different people from the applicant themselves that needs to be considered. So you can have lots of different roles and define them. And of course, yeah, you can assign any reviewers that you might need, internal or external, but we'll be talking more about reviewers in a second. And yeah, we talked a bit about activities there. Of course, Jack talked about the task dashboard, and you can assign and track activities, of course, tasks, appointments, basically anything that you might need in order to keep your process going along, whether they're internal or whether you're having them externally with the applicant. There's, of course, some standard types like emails, phone calls, meetings, but you can define your own if there is something that is a bit more specific to how you do the task, some kind of specific review or something. And you can add custom fields onto these activity types themselves if you want to record some specific thing about what's happened in this activity. Of course, you can do notes and all the basic stuff with them as well. With this, yeah, as we already said, you can automatically generate and assign some specific ones once you've received it. And as well as this, you can put optional you can add dates and deadlines, and you can have these all flag up. As you can see, there's a bit about milestones there. And you can make sure that, there are internal deadlines, and you can have notifications via email internally or externally about all of these. So lots of flexibility with the activities. And I'll pass Jack to show you what that looks like.
Brilliant, thank you. So we'll just pull this back up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to log in, and I will remove this because it's very in people's outlines. I'll log back into Civi, but this time I'm going to log into the grants area as a grant manager. So Gary, the grant manager, very creative name. We're going to log in, and what it's taken us to is the grants dashboard. So on the left, you can see all the different types of grant that we offer as an organization. Again, these are flexible. Along the top, you've got all the different stages that you would guide somebody along an application. And you can see quick glance how many people or organizations are at which stage. So we've got awarded, rejected, impact review. And then along the top, we've got the ability to actually manually add an application if somebody's emailed you, for example. But of course, we can automate a lot of that using those forms. So if we go to Annie's application, so this is one we just filled in a minute ago, you'll see all the different people that are also applying. But if we can close that down, this is just to focus on Annie's application. So you can see the organization that she's representing, so the Playground Association. You can see a subject line and some more information that she's filled in. The form that she filled in on the previous video has pulled all that information immediately through into the grant. And it's also got its own activities timeline. So you can see a chronological list and touch points of everything that's happening with this specific grant. And we can set up a lot of automations here. So Gary's been emailed automatically and automatically assigned as the application manager. So it saves staff a lot of time from having to go in and manually do this. So there's a lot of different roles that Alex touched on a minute ago. They've all been auto-assigned. There's a files tab where you can store documents. And then there's also the review and the payments tab, which I'm going to touch on a little bit later on. So if we go back to the summary page, we could see open task, unread communications, and we could also move the application along. Once you've reviewed the details, you could maybe move it through to the next stage, which could be application in review. Again, a number of automations could be fired off the back of this. So emails could be sent automatically. And in the activities timeline, you will see that view of this here. So Aisha has now been assigned as an internal reviewer, and she's been notified. And Greta has also been emailed saying that she needs to give a review. So what I'm going to do in the next video is show you both an internal reviewer that has back-end access to your CRM, and also an external reviewer who maybe you only want to give portal access so they don't get full access of all the CRM and the details. So it's a really nice way of splitting those out. So if I just
yeah,
and back over to Alex.
And as Jack says, most grants are obviously going to have some kind of review panel of some kind, and we're aware from all the people we work with that quite often this can either be internal, external, could even be a combination. It's certainly not a one size fits all. So we need a system that works for everyone here. And you can create review panels that are based on kind of contact groups. So if you put people into a group, you can kind of say these are the reviewers, and there's kind of data structure. So you can have a lot of flexibility over who these groups of reviewers are. Of course, if they're an internal person, as Jack says, maybe it makes more sense to give them access inside the CRM. So you can do that directly within the area we've just shown you. And you can do that there. But if you're an external reviewer, you might not want to give them access for many reasons, like data security to kind of the back end of your CRM where all of the details of, all your data stored, but you do need them to review something. You want a dedicated area for them. And that's why we have a built-in area in the portal that is perfect for them. So they can do all the things they need for review. It goes straight through into the CRM. So, when they've done it there, it's all done, but they don't have, that portal so their CRM access that, could get a bit more messy and complicated. Within this, of course, you can specify the reviewing scoring models you want. So, say out of 5, out of 10, or if it's a very specific, I want to comment on this, you have total flexibility over what the review fields are and how they work. And of course, then you can report on all of that and, see what that looks like. And of course, optionally, within the portal area itself, you can't do this in the CRM, but in the portal area, certainly for the external reviewers, you can anonymize the data of the applicant. So if you want to make it like a more impartial process, or whatever reason you might be doing this, maybe you're dealing with sensitive information of some kind, you can just make it so just the basic details are there, but something like name is anonymized, so they won't be able to have that kind of information. So these are kind of like a few things that are possible within the system, and I'll pass you over to Jack to show you what that looks like.
Brilliant, thank you. So I will now log in as the first scenario, which is Aisha. So she's going to be an internal reviewer that's going to have access to your CRM. So like we said, it's not one size fits all for everybody. So some people might have internal reviewers, external reviewers, or a mixture of both. So Aisha is going to log in and we're going to go back to the initial application that we've already started working on. So Annie's, she can see that it's under review currently. And Aisha now knows that she needs to fill out a review. So there's different scoring metrics that can be set up here, very flexible. We've gone with the basic one for this scenario. So Aisha can fill all that in, add any supporting documents and stuff that she needs, and save that review. So you can either save that review in the reviews tab, or we could go to the activities tab and it would be stored there as well. So that's kind of scenario one. And then the other scenario is if we log out and we log in as an external reviewer, emails can be triggered automatically to external reviewers as well. So they can be notified to say, you've been trusted as an external reviewer for this particular grant, please review the application. And that will then take them either directly into the portal, or they could log in sporadically throughout the day if they know that it's a big grant sort of application season. So they can log straight in. They're now taken into the portal and they can see the application that they've already reviewed and the one that they await in review. So like Alex said, these can be anonymized if people want to work with sensitive data. So the application manager or the reviewer can review all the details and all the notes from the application so far, and then they can leave their review. So all they need to do is simply click review application, and it will take them through to the same scoring metric that Aisha used on the internal review. So we can fill all this in, leave some comments, leave some supporting notes and docs as well. And I'll just skip over this a little bit. They can either save a draft or they can just directly submit it. So if it's a long review that people have to fill in like multiple pages, obviously we understand that might be a bit time consuming, so they can save a draft application. Then, because this has all been done, it's automatically been removed to reviewed. So that when they know that they log in next time, they haven't got to leave another review. So finally, we're going to log back in to Civi and the grant area as the grant manager. And we can now see that Annie's application has 2 reviews against it. They either live in the activities tab or the reviews tab. So the application review here has been done by Aisha. So we can see that here. And the other review has been done by Greta. So both of their scores have been pulled directly into the grant. And they can also see this in the reviews area against the application and the grant itself. So now all the reviews have been submitted. We can now award this grant. We can leave some more notes if we wish to, document next steps, or we can just simply approve it. And now we can see that this particular grant application has been moved through to awarded, and obviously we can report on that as well. The beauty of having it in the CRM, however, is there's a lot of automations. We've already touched on a few around emails, but activities and next steps can be automatically scheduled as well. So we can see here that an impact review is required in the future, which is a really nice way to get some feedback from the people that you're providing funding to. They can give you feedback at a later date to see how your funding has supported their organization and the project that they're working on. So an email could automatically be sent out to the organization at a later stage saying, how has this supported your organization? And then finally, we've logged back into the portal as the initial applicant. And if we refresh this screen, we can see that our application has been awarded via the portal, and an email would also be sent to Annie, the applicant, as well. Brilliant. I will jump out of there and I'll quickly hand back over to Alex.
Yep. And of course, because we've now awarded the grant, as Jack's shown, we need to think about the next step, which is actually giving out the funds, which, obviously is a great thing to be able to do and help Annie out with her cause. And for this, we want to be making sure that we can record the payment. So we can do all of this within the system in terms of recording the payment. We can record what amount's gone out, the due date, the status of it, if it's paid or not yet. and if it's going out in multiple installments, because you might not just give them a lump sum, it might be, set to go out over a period of time. So these are all things that you can define within the system and make sure that you keep track of how that's supposed to be set up.
Brilliant. Thank you. So if I log in to the application, so on the same application, Annie's one here, we're going to go to the payments tab now. So we're going to award the payment. We're going to specify the type of payment, obviously really important for reporting purposes at the end of the year. You can specify it's a grant payment, the currency, so we can support multi-currency in CiviPlus and CiviCRM. So we can do the currency, the amount, the due date, the reference, the due date paid, the status, and so on. So this can be filled out by the individual that's managing all of the payments via the grants area. So if I skip across this a little bit, because it's just somebody filling it in. So you can see now that a payment has been logged against the application. So we've got two different payments that we've created, one for 250 and another one for 250 as well. So we can do multiple payments if you want to sort of hand out payments like sporadically, and then you can specify the different types of status as well. So one can be paid or approved. And again, this all ties back into reporting purposes and getting that to reconcile with your accounting system via like an import-export function. The other thing that you can see is the financial payments have actually created activities as well. So this activities timeline is really crucial in giving you really good visibility of absolutely everything that's happened with this application from the initial submission all the way through to awarding the payment. So you've got a sort of single source of truth. I know this is actually quite difficult to do in other CRMs and also spreadsheets. I know there's some people here today using spreadsheets, so it'd be really interesting to hear how you're actually doing this for end-to-end process, maybe towards the end. Cool, and I will jump out of this and come back to Alex.
Yes, so we've talked about it a bit already, but one really important thing that we want to make sure we're doing, now I've got this, we need to have really good records. So, we're giving people money. We want to know who we've given money, when we've given them money, and, all the different details around that. So, of course, you need a really good a reporting suite, which Civi absolutely has. It has really easy to use built-in reporting. It has quite a lot of report templates already existing around grant and finance. And of course, they're also really easy to kind of spin off the ones that are already existing. You can report on all custom fields. So if it's a field that you've kind of created, it's a specific requirement or something that you've just put in the system, it's super easy to add that onto your report. If you want to do a more complex query, so, a bit more advanced, kind of combine a few things together, then SearchKit is an absolutely amazing tool, which you can do, a lot more advanced things. You can create tables, you can create forms, you should got an example of something we made in there a bit later. We've also, you can also put the reports on your dashboards for your homepage. So if you want to, keep track of it when you log in immediately to your CRM, it's there. And you can also email reports on a regular basis to yourself or, I don't know, senior management or whoever might want it. So this is what's happening, maybe quarterly, yearly, or how, more frequently if you want. Keep track of what's going on with your grants. And so you've got these reporting things that just go out automatically and you don't even need to go and check in the system because it just set up. And then I think the next slide is a more specific type of reporting, which is obviously, as we've already shown, like on the activities timeline, is really important when it comes to giving grants out. It is having the impact assessments. So when you want to, see what impact your grants had, you want to make sure that you're building really good surveys, and that's something that you can do as well. You want to create, these bespoke surveys with custom fields so you can capture things like any outcome metrics you're going for, the reach, for beneficiaries, any success stories, some links to external reports videos, the chance to upload any documents or photos, and all of this can then be stored in CiviPlus and easily reportable. So, you want to be able to capture all this data and then report on it. And so you can create these forms again, and Jack's going to show you what that looks like in a bit, but you've done all that, and you can also use all the automated emails we've been talking about to make sure that the workflows to send out these automatic emails to kind of like make sure you're actually sending them out and capturing the data properly. And if people aren't filling them in and you've got deadlines in the impact report, then you can kind of like keep sending them out as the deadlines get closer automatically.
Brilliant. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in Civi. So if I just hide this again. So what we've done is we've logged back in as the grant manager. And what we've done is we see that it's been awarded and an impact review needs to happen. So this has already been scheduled automatically by the CRM, and it's logged an activity on your timeline as well. So an email has now been sent out to Annie, who was the initial applicant, asking for a bit of feedback after they'd secured funding and maybe actually actioned the project. So this is what an email could look like going out to Annie, the initial applicant. And all Annie needs to do is click the button that says impact feedback, and she'll be taken back into the CiviPlus portal. So there's a number of questions that you can ask. Were the objectives achieved with the funding that you provided? And giving them a chance to voice how the funding helped them deliver their mission. So they can give it a success rating, matrix, and this can be completely configured based on the impact and information that you wish to collect. So all that information will now pull directly back into your CRM and specifically against Annie's application. So if we go back to that activities timeline that we've talked a lot about, you can see that the grant impact feedback has been complete, and you would see all of the details against the initial application. So again, pulling that all back into that central application, preventing you from having to look around in different areas for different information. Now, finally, we can close off this application and this grant. And the final thing that you'll notice in the top left is that we now have a start and an end date. So this is really useful for reporting as well. It just gives you visibility of how long a typical process looks like. Again, these are different for different organizations, but it really helps you to notice where the long periods are, where the short periods are, and maybe tighten that up a little bit from a process improvement perspective. So if I close this one and I will go through.
Exactly. So thanks, Jack. But yeah, that is basically taking you through what giving out grants might look like within a CRM and kind of that flexibility and the automation it can give you. And really, as Jack says, putting it all in one place and making like the experience of your applicants, much easier and much better and just easier for you to process as well. But of course, the other side of things, which we talked about, is what if you yourself are applying for grants? Well, that's something you can track within the system as well. And the very pipelines we've been discussing that you can have for other people applying to your organization, you can kind of use them in a similar way to apply for grants. And, if you're doing both at the same time, you can have these under completely separate tabs. You could have, your grant giving tab and your grant application tab, whatever you want to call it. But, you can keep these pipelines completely separate, even set up different permission structures around them if you want. So if you are applying for grants from other organizations yourself, you can create, as I said, these bespoke pipelines that, however it makes sense for you to do this application. You can track the applications for each stage. You can have multiple types of grant applications. So in the example in the picture, in the videos, we've kind of got project grants, operational grants, capital grants. What are the whatever kind of grants that you might apply for and how you would categorize them as you see it? Maybe it would be, you'd split it more into the types of project or something. But within this, you can then track all the people, as we've already shown, connected to the application within one place. And, that's very useful internally because you're going to be having to gather quite a bit of internal information sometimes. And then you can also store the record of each application within the system, any supporting documents, just again, it's having this single place where you can store everything and know that anything related to the grant, I can access directly from this one place. And again, you use the activity timeline, which we talked about a lot. And, I'm not going to explain what it is again, but in terms of like the example activities you can use, you can do this for your like initial review of the opportunities. You can have an activity where you say, we're going to plan the project budget and propose, if that's a meeting or just kind of as a reminder, we need to do this. And again, internal meetings, write up notes, make sure that everything related to this opportunity, this grant application is kept within the system. So say someone's ill, someone's on holiday, someone else can come into the system and go, this is exactly what's going on, as opposed to, it's spread across different spreadsheets and emails. And within this, then you can then set deadlines for yourself with these automated email reminders, as we said, and any milestones, the obvious one, of course, being the grant submission date, if there is one. So we need to make sure everything is finished by then and assign any tasks to people, if they need to do something by a certain date. And so Jack's going to show you a bit of what this will look like.
Brilliant. Yes, thank you. So very similar to what I've showed you, we're going to go into the grant applications area. This is a new grant application.
Yeah, we're filling it out here just to kind of like, you can either do it in the system or you can just make yourself a custom form, this kind of information that might just be easier to fill in quickly for yourself at an internal level.
So we would submit that as the sort of application manager who's managing the grant application externally, so they can fill in basic details. This helps to sort of standardize detail, is what we've found with working with a lot of people, is having these forms just helps with reporting at the back end, because if you can put good data in, you get good data out at the back end of it as well. So they could fill in all the grant details. They can put in key dates, which will schedule activities that need to happen and next steps. So there's a few different deadlines, timelines, and award notification dates that we can put in here as well. And this would all correspond with the sort of requirements that have been set out by the grant giver. So we can put in restrictions and other custom fields, reporting frequencies and metrics, and then the staff member can actually submit that. So what this will now do is in your CRM, in your grant application area, is it will create a new application that you can manage from start to finish. So from identified to awarded or rejected, for example. So on the left, like Alex touched on, we've got the different types of grants that we're applying for. And then on the top, we've got all the different stages that we talked about earlier on. So these are very flexible in the way that they're set up. We've got a really useful calendar view as well. So you know what you've got to do on what day. And then you've also got some quick glance pieces of information on that dashboard. So again, we can go in to this particular application. We can see the organization that's provided the funding, next steps, any details, timelines, requirements, links to the initial brief, for example. Again, you can link out to any sort of document storage system, or you can store the document directly in the CRM itself. Once you've reviewed the initial brief, you can then start moving it along the process. And I will come out and hand over to Alex.
Yeah, exactly. And so once we've got all of that set up, and again, yeah, lots of the rest of the system is exactly as we've seen in terms of you can keep track of the people, you can keep track of the activities. We can then do things like we can create detailed reports on the financial pipeline tracking, because we want to know if we're applying for grants, what that's going to look like, because we've probably got, the finance person is looking at, how much money have we got available for these projects or whatever it is that we're doing. So we want to make sure that we know the kind of things like projected income. So this is what we think we're going to get, in terms of what we expect. With you can do things like probability to kind of predict that. The actual income, so anything that's actually come in so far, these are the grants we've actually already secured, and this is with the reliable income. And of course, things around grant success. So, how successful have we been with the different grants? Why have we won these ones? Why have we lost these ones? And that kind of thing can then inform your strategy going forwards, especially if you're doing a lot of grant applications. So, if you're doing the more grant applications you're doing, the more useful this might be. And yeah, Jack's got a little video of what some of the reporting might look like.
Brilliant. Yeah. So if we go back into the CRM, we've got the grant tracking reports that we've already created. So they can be displayed in flexible reports that you can add and apply filters to. So you can see all the different types of grants that we're applying for on the left, the probability of us securing them, the expected amount, and obviously we can filter through and adjust this report based on the types of status or grant types that we're applying for. So there's very flexible reports that we can set up in CiviPlus, and you can actually download them and manipulate the data externally if you ever wanted to do that. Of course, Civi does have a lot of powerful reports built in, but some people like to sort of take it out of the system as well, maybe to send an email to somebody else.
Yeah, maybe to kind of like line up with your accounting system or something. But yeah, that is really then a whistle-stop tour through the grant, kind of both sides of grants within CiviPlus, and also, how you might manage your grant application processes in one place, as opposed to sometimes when they're spread, across different systems, which can make it quite difficult. So I'll hand over to Jack now, who, yeah.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. I mean, just thank you for everyone coming. I mean, I hope that was useful. If there's any more specific information that anybody would like, obviously you can reach out to me. We'll send out emails and recordings and stuff after this webinar. But if anyone would like to see some personalized scenarios that are relevant to them, we'd be more than happy to set that up for you and talk you through. Obviously, we'll pause here now and happy to answer any questions. Feel free to put them in the chat or stick around at the end, and we'll be happy to have a bit of a chat with you.
But thanks everyone for attending.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.